ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going to go over UFC Fight Night, Ige versus Zombie. Now, first, we got to address the elephant in the room, the fact that we are on fire, ladies and gentlemen. We know 2 fight nights ago, we won a perfect 12 for 12, something I've never done before. The following fight night, we were wild with our props, getting everything correct, resulting in a positive night. Last week, UFC 263, we hit another parlay. We hit 2 parlays. And remember, you have to follow the Stats and Stacks podcast over on Twitter, over on Instagram. Make sure that you're getting all of the official fight picks. And they don't post until Saturday morning. We want to make sure everything that happens at weigh-ins is accounted for. So remember to go back and make sure you follow those. Because the last few weeks, if you have, you've been cashing with me, baby. So I know this card is a little tough to navigate through. That's what I'm here for. We're going to get you through this thing just like we got you through the last 4, baby. We are on a heater, and we're going to continue. I'm not going to waste a second of your time. We're going to jump right into the first fight of the night, which is actually, in all honesty, one of my favorite fights of the night. We have Laura Procopio coming in at 7-1 against Casey O'Neill at 6-0. We have Laura, actually, the steam is happening. It started off as a pick'em. Right now, Laura's all the way up at a -165 favorite. Come back on Casey O'Neill at +130. We'll go ahead and we'll start with my girl Laura. We have the over at 2.5 at -250, under 2.5 at +200. Laura's a dark horse in this division, man. She's good. She's real good. I mean, you got to think about she's 7-1. Her only loss is to Carol Rosa, who I also think is a stud. But the thing is, Carol Rosa is up at 135. Laura took that fight on short notice. And she's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She's known for how good her Jiu-Jitsu is. And she stood with Carol Rosa, a boxer, a weight class up on short notice, and lost a split decision. She gave a good account for herself. She showed that she's not just a Jiu-Jitsu artist. She can strike, and she has phenomenal hands. It's very rare that you see like both like that so early on. I mean, you look at her, she's only 25 years old. It's not like, I know she looks older, but she's only 25. She's only going to get better. And she is a dark horse in this flyweight division. It doesn't take much to get championship shots at 125. So the winner of this is about to see some pretty serious competition. And it's not even just her striking and her jiu-jitsu. Her last fight against Molly McCann, she took down Meatball 7 times. So she showed off her wrestling ability. This girl is a complete package. I love backing Laura. I honestly think she's a top 10 girl in the division. She can beat you on the feet. She can beat you on the ground. She can decision you. She's done it all. Not a lot of negatives in regards to Laura, in all honesty. I can question how like strong she is. She looks like she's, it's presentable. She's not one of these like overly strong girls. So if she runs into a good wrestler, someone might be able to toss her up her body. But if they want to toss her to the ground, I don't know if you want to. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So I know there's a lot of differences where sometimes even black belts aren't the greatest off their back. They're mostly on top. We don't really know because no one's really tossed her to the ground and kept her there. So I do see she has an armbar win here. Usually those are from bottom. So I think this girl is just a complete package. But then I look over at her opponent, and Casey O'Neill. Casey, man, she's good too. This fight really hurts me because I've cashed on both of these girls. Both of them have won me a lot of money. So to see them go up against each other kind of sucks. I don't really. The thing with Casey is she's 23. So she's another one, super young, super green. She's good, man. She's one, she goes over and she trains striking at Tiger Muay Thai. She's also, her wrestling, she's consistent. Going back and doing fight tape, her wrestling isn't as good as you think. She doesn't really set up her takedowns at all. She just goes in for it. But her gas tank is second to none. That thing is like Diaz-esque with her gas tank. It doesn't stop. She has a motor. She's kind of like a Clay Guida in the women's division. She just keeps coming at you. But again, Clay stand-up wasn't good. Neither is hers. Like she does train at Tiger Muay Thai. She can dish it out and she tries to strike a little bit, but she's hittable. Neither one of these fighters have a lot of cons. Hers is just that she's very, very hittable. If this thing stays on the feet, I do have to give the advantage to Laura. On the ground, Casey is a purple belt. So she definitely knows what's going on. She's good there. Um, she's a purple or brown belt. She might have upgraded to brown. But either way, I still have to give the edge to Laura. The wrestling department will even out. If I have to give a slight advantage, probably Casey. And the gas tank, definitely Casey, but Laura, it's not like she has a bad gas tank. It's just not, Casey's is just ridiculous. So I can definitely see a world where Casey can kind of like take her down and hold her down, just try to stay safe, and just outwork her, and just use her gas tank as her weapon. But at the same time, I also see why the odds are minus 165. And if you're hopping on Laura, you have to do it now. The pick 110% is going to be Laura Procopio. The bet itself, again, I can see either way. And call me crazy, I would not be surprised if Laura gets a finish, whether it's off her back or on the feet. Casey is very, very hittable. And the thing you see is you got to really, really, I prefer Tapology. Some people just go on to Wikipedia and look at stuff. You got to look at their amateur career as well. And when you do that with Casey, her first two fights, she lost via knockout. So she has been knocked out before. I know she's 6-0 as a professional, but as an amateur, she has been clipped and knocked out. And a lot of her fights on the pro level that I watched, even though she's winning and she's looking great, she looks okay on the feet. It's not that she's bad on the feet. She can dish it out. It's just she gives one. She takes one to give one. And honestly, I think she's taking two to give. She's taking two or three to give one. So she will hit you. It looks fine, but you can hit her like 3 times in the process. So I wouldn't be surprised. A bet here, I'd probably stay away. If you want a glory play right off the get-go, you can take the under. I know that's an unpopular opinion. But I mean, in all honesty, I could see Laura finishing her. And if you're going to take the dog money on Casey, it's not the worst bet. I'd probably stay safe and just pick Laura or stay away, favorite or pass. But if you want to get crazy, I can see the under. And if you want to be a little risky, I can also see Casey. But if I had to choose one as a bet, not to ramble, I'd pick Laura or pass. And that takes us to our next fight of the night. We have Rick Glenn coming in at plus 100 against Joaquim Silva coming in at minus 120. We have the over 2.5 at minus 245. And we have the under 2.5 at plus 195. Now, those totals are weird. You're going to see a popular opinion of this fight card that the totals might be the way to go. Some of these picks are kind of close and kind of tough. We'll start with Silva. Silva took a 2-year break. You look here, the last time he fought was in 2019, and he got knocked out by Nazareth. Now, don't get me wrong. Hack press is good. I think he's overrated, but he's good enough. I don't think Joaquim Silva is anything to write home about. In all honesty, even his wins, like the Jared Gordon win, he was getting his ass kicked for 2 rounds. And Flesh Gordon's good, but he's not the best. Like Jared Gordon is UFC caliber, but he's never going to be champion. And he's like a step under gatekeeper status or gatekeeper at best. He has lost to Vince Michelle. Another thing is gatekeeper or esque. So like he's losing to decent guys and he's beating really, really crappy guys. So like it's not like he's bad himself. He has pretty good power. He has decent striking, kind of like that shoot a box style, where he just comes in like kind of like a berserker. Again, that 2 years off, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. He's 32. So I mean, this is kind of gonna be his prime because he's gonna have to make a push now. And his gas tank is a little questionable. You see him slow down, but then you see him getting finishes in the 3rd round. So it's kind of odd. He's just a weird cat, man. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I think he's right around this Vince Pichel, Jared Gordon level. And in all honesty, you could say the same about Ricky Glenn. And yeah, it went from Rick to Ricky. There's like a backstory in regards to like people's names and his family, and he just decided to go back to Ricky. Again, I would be concerned about the 2-year layoff for Joaquim Silva if he wasn't fighting Ricky Glenn, who's coming off like nearly a 4-year layoff or something crazy like that. His last fight was a loss to Kevin Aguilar in 2018, so a 3-year layoff. So even bigger layoff. And it's not like he's a spring chicken either. He's also 32. When you look at his he's the same scenario. He has good wins over like Dennis Bermudez and Gavin Tucker. Again, these are people that are good, but like gatekeeper level, like a Jared Gordon win. They're the same thing. In all honesty, Ricky Glenn does not hit as hard as Joaquin Silva. I'll tell you that, but he definitely throws more. So in all honesty, you're looking at these guys. Looking at the fight tape, Rick Glenn. In all honesty, the stats say Rick Glenn is fine in the BJJ realm, but when I look at the fight tape, it looks a little shaky. Again, a lot of this fight tape is from like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, because he has not fought in 3 years. And I know he was coming off injuries, and then he had his first child, and now he was at Team Alpha Male. Now he's switching camps to like some lower one in Iowa or something where he's from. So he has a lot of red flags. So I mean, at first glance, I was looking at it, and I usually take volume over power. So I was gonna take the plus money with Ricky Glenn, but then after doing fight tape and looking at research in regards to him switching camps and coming off injuries and COVID and all this stuff, it really does give me some hesitation. In the fight tape, he reminds me a lot of Matt Frivola, where he's a guy that, yeah, he only had one knockout loss. You look at Ricky Glenn here, he's never been knocked out. But I watched a few of his fights and his wins where he's getting rocked. He gets dropped. He doesn't get KO'd. And it's concerning with someone that hits hard like Joaquin Silva. So we could see a Terrence McKinney, Matt Frivola ordeal here, where you have someone that hits hard against someone that gets dropped but not taken out often, and then their light finally gets shut off. The only difference is Terrence McKinney was a dog, Joaquin Silva is the favorite, but it's barely. I mean, it's minus 120. So the pick, I will take Silva. I'll agree with Vegas here, but just barely. I agree with their odds, the minus 120 and the plus 100. In regards to a bet, I really need to watch the weigh-ins. Again, neither one of these guys, they fought 2 years and 3 years ago. There's a good chance one of them come back and they're just coming back for a paycheck. And that might be Ricky Glenn. I know he has a secondary job. He does this still on the side. You look at him and he's 21 and 6-1, but he considers MMA a side job. So if he's coming back after 3 years, I need to see what he looks like on the scale. Silva coming back, I need to see what he looks like on the scale. So as a bet, it's probably going to be a dog or pass situation. I don't really want to bet this one either. Then you look at the totals. I could see the under 2.5. In all honesty, with it being plus 200, I like that to an extent, but I'm not comfortable enough to bet it. When you look at the over minus 245, that's definitely insinuating that Ricky Glenn wins, which is weird because he's the dog. So something's off. If you want to take a shot on Ricky Glenn, it makes sense. If you want to take the shot on the under, it makes sense. So it's dog or pass, or just plus money with the under or pass. But this is another one I'd probably just try to stay away from if possible. And then the next fight of the night, sloppy heavyweights. We got Josh Parisian coming in at a minus 130 favorite over Rocky Martinez at even money. We have the over 1.5 at minus 190, and we have the under 1.5 at plus 150. Now, I have a rule. If it is a very, very low level heavyweight fight, you take the dog because it gets sloppy. And if it's the whole fight's going to be sloppy, I want plus money on it. The problem is it's even money for Rocky Martinez, so it's not quite the ordeal that I generally like. We'll start with Parisian, good old Ultimate Fighter alum. He sucks, in all honesty. He's not good. He doesn't have a gas tank. He has a lot of wins via KO early, like round one, round two, round one. But you got to also look at level of competition: 3-6, 4-11, 4-4, 3-1, 8-10. It's not like he's going out there and he's beating the bricks off of like UFC caliber talent. And then you look at his losses. He has gotten knocked out by Tony Lopez. He got Kimura. He lost by a decision. I mean, he's losing each and every way. He lost his last fight via decision to Parker Porter. Parker Porter's just a short, stocky guy who's kind of a generalist, but mainly strikes. And that's exactly what he's fighting here in Rocky Martinez, in all honesty. Parisian, his striking's okay. I mean, you have to be okay to be 13-4, in all honesty. If you're if you've been in the UFC for a while, I mean, it's not like he only has one UFC fight. He has two and then a contender series fight. So, I mean, he's there. And then his wrestling suspect, his Brazilian jiu-jitsu is questionable. His cardio is trash. I don't like this guy at all. I don't think he's good at all. I don't think he's UFC caliber. Again, the only thing is he's fighting Rocky Martinez, which, I mean, look at him. I also don't think he's UFC caliber. You got to look at him and think at his record as well. He's not exactly beating world beaters. 14 and 17, 11 and 10, 4 and 2, 2 and 2. Like, these guys aren't the greatest either. Oh gosh, he's a striker really predominantly. What I can tell you is that he's pretty durable. That's his best quality, the fact that he can take a punch. You look at his last fight against Dontel Mays, he really got outworked for the first 2 rounds, and he started to mount a comeback in the third. I actually gave him the third round to just kind of prove that he's durable and the fact that he'll keep coming at you. Now, again, Parisian weathers. So, like, if he starts to fade around that 7-minute mark like he usually does, you have half the fight's going to be Parisian's way, half the fight is going to be Rocky's way. If you're giving me a 50-50 fight, I will, again, when you're in doubt and you have no idea and it's real low-level, sloppy heavyweight, just take the dog. Again, this is another one where I'm actually not going to pass, actually. The pick, I'm going to take Martinez. Again, low-level heavyweights. But there is one thing I like here. I do like the over prop because they set it at 1.5. Rocky Martinez is not a power puncher. You look at his wins, it's usually over an accumulation of strikes. And if I think Rocky's going to win, he's going to win because it's either going to be decision, and Parisian has been beaten by decision before. He's durable enough for how soft Rocky hits, or Rocky can win because he just wore on him too much. But it being at 1.5 is a saving grace. So I actually don't mind the over here. I'm not running out of the gates to bet it, but I do like it in all honesty. And it's a card where there's not a lot of bets I actually like. So I might end up with a bet on the over 1.5. So that's the only route I would go for this fight. Over or pass, but the over is not the worst in the world. Then it takes us to probably one of the best fights on the card already. And we have Semmelsberger going up against Chaos Williams. We actually have Chaos Williams coming in at minus 165. We have the comeback on Matt at plus 130. Over 1.5 is minus 150. Under 1.5 is plus 120. We'll start with Chaos Williams. That's the one everyone knows. He's known as having the death touch where he comes in and all it takes is one punch from him to take you out. Put the lights out, ask Alex Morono, ask Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. But before that, in all honesty, he wasn't really known as a knockout guy. Yes, he has a win over someone that was 8-10 via knockout, but he has guillotine wins, decision. He was really kind of a decision fighter for whatever reason. It was kind of split between punches and decision, but again, it's not like it was a death touch all the time. All it takes is one punch and you're out. But at the same time, I mean, that's really all he has. He's really a one-trick pony. He has power. He has decent striking. His cardio checked out in the Michel Pereira fight. But his takedown defense was very, very suspect. Michel is not a wrestler by any means. And Michel came out and took him down at will in the third round. This Brazilian jiu-jitsu I haven't seen, but I did see Michel jump on a rear naked choke at the end of round 2 in their fight and get there relatively easily. He just ran out of time. So his Brazilian jiu-jitsu leaves a little to be desired. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it for about 10 seconds and it did not look good. I've seen his takedown defense. It did not look good. So he's just a one-trick pony, knockout or bust. So you look at, he would run into people that have a lot of talent, good wrestlers, stuff like that would really kind of give him some trouble. Luckily for him, Matt Semmelsberger is not that. He's also relatively new to the sport. I know he played football for a while and was like a lineman, and then he lost a ton of weight. I know originally growing up, he wrestled. So that's something to look out for. But it's not like he was a Division I wrestler. It's not like he was an Olympian or anything like that. He just wrestled in high school. I mean, hell, I wrestled in high school, so it's like me going out there. At that juncture, you look at his last fight against Jason Witt, just write it off. Jason Witt's a terrible chin. Matt just took him out in 16 seconds, not hard. Carlton Minus, a little concerning because Carlton Minus is not good. He might be cut already. If not, he's about to be. And it took him a while to kind of get the edge over Carlton Minus, but you see him developing. You see Matt getting better each and every fight. And the thing I don't like a lot about Matt, he has decent power. It's not Chaos Williams power, but it's there. It's enough. I mean, it's hard enough. He's not going to knock out Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams is pretty durable. His BJJ, it didn't look the greatest, but again, he had a wrestling background, so it's there. It's not good, but it's there. And he goes forward a lot. And I noticed Chaos does like to counter punch a lot. So this fight is going to go one of two ways. Either Matt is going to come out and pressure him, Chaos is going to catch him with a counter and knock him out, or Matt's going to go in there and put on his singlet and he's going to take down Chaos and hold him down or tap him out. One of the two is going to happen. Chaos isn't going to tap out Matt. Matt is not going to knock out Chaos. So then you look at the over-under. And you can't really bet that because that's you picking a fighter. If you bet the over, you think it's going to be Matt. If you bet the under, you think it's going to be Chaos. And it's set at 1.5. So at that juncture, with a fight this close, I'm going to take the guy with more routes to win. And I think that's Matt. He adds in a little wrestling here and there. He does resort back to it. So if Michel Pereira can take you down at will, Matt might be able to do the same. You have some crazy props I did stare at, like Matt by submission. Again, Chaos almost got choked out in a matter of seconds by Michelle. Matt by submission is a plus 1100. I did take a look at it. I'm still considering. But at the same time, Matt is the dog himself. I don't really want to do submission. I don't want to do decision. I wish it was more than plus 130. I'll see how the line looks. We'll see how they look at weigh-ins. But as of right now, I would go dog or pass and go Matt. I'm heavily considering placing a bet on him. I just need to see weigh-ins and stuff like that first. So the pick is Matt, and the bet would be the underdog in Matt or just passing. Then the next fight, another tricky one, man. We have Kanako Murata at plus 110 coming up against Verna Jandaroba at minus 140. And we had the over 2.5 at minus 202, the under at plus 162. Now, Verna's another one, just like the first fight with Laura and Casey. I've won a lot of money on Verna. And Verna's a dark horse in the division. It's the one at strawweight. She's good, man. She's really good. You see a 16-2 record. Her two losses were Mackenzie Dern, who's about to challenge for a title, in all honesty, with one more win. And I thought she beat Dern. When you go back and you watch that fight, I had money on Verna, so maybe I'm a little biased. But I thought she did enough to win. Against someone, that's top 3, top 2 in the division. So that's saying something. Then her other loss was to Carla Esparza, who is definitely about to fight for the title. And it was a split decision, man. It came, or it wasn't a split, it was a unanimous, but it could have been, I think it should have been a split. She looked fine against both. Both of these are title-worthy challengers. Those are her only 2 losses, and she's a wizard on the ground. Verna, one of the best black belts in the division. I think Mackenzie Dern is the best on the ground, and Verna's number 2. Like, she is a wizard on the ground. Off her back, on top, there's levels to black belts, and Verna is a legitimate black belt. Her stand-up leaves a little to be desired. The Mackenzie Dern fight, again, those are 2 of the best grapplers going at it, so they did strike for a little. And she looked fine. It's improving. It's there. It's not good, but she tries really hard. She has a mean body kick that she kept throwing. And she tried to keep her distance, and she would lunge in and kind of throw a strike and then fall back and kind of wait and sit and look. So it's getting there. She at least stays busy on the feet, I'll say. And her cardio looked okay. It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't bad at all. She didn't really slow. She just kind of maintained a steady pace, which is perfectly fine, especially in a 3-round fight. So I really have not a lot of negatives on Jandaroba. Only one would be her striking. The good news for her is that she's fighting Murata. who also sucks at striking. In all honesty, I don't know who's better, and that might determine who wins this fight. Because Murata is billed as a wrestler, and she is. She's very, very good. You're not going to be able to take her down. I know Verna took down Carla Esparza like 3 times, and Carla's known as one of the best wrestlers. So that's just another feather in the cap for Verna. She is not going to take down Murata. Murata might have the best defensive wrestling. 1, because of the caliber wrestling, and 2, because she's short. Her size, it's tough to take down smaller girls, shorter girls. So for her to be that good at wrestling and to be that small, you're not going to take her down. And her offensive takedown, she's tiny, but she's a tank. She's just a little tank, man. She's good. She's very good, honestly. She's a little newer to MMA. I mean, she only has what? This is going to be her 13th pro fight, but she didn't turn pro until like not too long ago, 2016. So she's been in the game 5 years. The thing with her, it's just she doesn't have any power. She doesn't have any stand up. Great wrestling. Her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I know for a fact she's a purple belt, but she puts herself in some precarious positions quite often. Especially her fight right before the UFC against Emily Ducati, man, she put herself in like 5 or 6 arm bars, and it scares me. Because if she gives her arm up to Verna, she's taking that thing home. So that really does make me look at the under at plus 162. But just like the last fight, that's you picking a side. If you're going the under, it's going to be Verna. If you're going the over, you're probably going with the dog and Kanaka. I know a lot of analysts are going with Kanaka because generally wrestlers can just stay safe, take you down and stay safe. But for me, I always go with whoever has the most ways to win. So I took the dog in Matt last fight because he could grind with wrestling, or he could try to like stand up or tap him out. I'm going to go the opposite here because I think Verna, I know Murata's a lot faster, but I think Verna has the better striking. It's not good. Neither one is good, but Verna seems a little more technical. So I'll give her the very, very slightest of slight striking edge. And she is a wizard on the ground. So if Murata wants to take her down, she's just playing with fire. So I understand the line with it being minus 140. That's not bad odds on Verna. I want to take Verna, but I could also see the Kanako route. So the pick unequivocally is going to be Verna. The bet, whew, I would probably still just bet. Ooh, I want to see dog or pass, but there's no value. Plus 110 isn't enough for me, so I will take Verna at minus 140 as a bet as well. This is another one where I'd probably just pass, but if you want to bet it, I would stay. I would agree with Vegas, and I would bet Verna. And that takes us to a slop fest here. We have Alessa Kamwer coming in against Nick. God, if I could say his name, Negamaruno. We'll call him just Nick straight up. We'll start with the over is 2.5 at minus 155. The under at 2.5 is plus 125. We'll actually start with Kamwer. The first thing I thought about with him, you'll hear them say it 1,010,000 times. He's at strong style with Stipe. He's a training partner of Stipe. Like they'll probably say it 20 to 30 times. They just love saying that because there's not really much else to say about him. I mean, his stand-up's okay. It's not good. It's not the worst in the division, but it is not good by any means. His takedown defense is ass. William Knight took him down with ease his last fight. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, I've never seen it. It's MIA. He doesn't worry about it because he just wants to stay up and strike. You look at his record and you see all these knockouts. That's against lower level competition. It's not going to happen in the UFC. He doesn't have a ton of power. Again, he's somewhat technical. You see the technique. He's super young and raw. I mean, he's 25. So I could see him getting better. He's leaning on his striking right now, and it's technical enough to be there. They got to work on his wrestling. William Knight should not be taking you down at ease. And his schedule, man. I mean, his strength of schedule is kind of soft. You have outside of William Knight and Justin Ledet, who's it says 9-2, but Ledet was bad. Man. Ledet, he's also cut. He is not good. All of his losses came in the UFC. He was a fraud. Fabio was a win, but again, Fabio's now in the UFC, but he's also a fraud. He's not good. And then you look at his record; it's 4-1, 2-0, 0-0, 1-1. He's not fighting good guys. He's not going to really garnering any good experience by fighting these bad guys. I mean, he lost around to Justin Ledet, and that's kind of sad. That's a little sketchy. But at the same time, he's fighting Nick. And if you're going to get a win, you're going to get some experience, you're going to do it against Nick because Nick is ass. Nick might be the worst fighter in the division. He lost to the guy that just had that crown, and then he lost to him. That other guy has since been cut. Oh my God, what is his name? Safarov, god awful. He's terrible, absolutely terrible, and he's now cut. Safarov only had one win in the UFC, and it was our boy Nick. So the thing with Nick that kind of sketches you out is the fact that he's 26, and that Safarov fight was in 2019. So we haven't seen him in 2 years. Generally, you would say, well, they're probably getting better, especially 24 to 26. He's still super young, but I just haven't heard about, like, if he came to America and was training at like ATT or Sanford or my favorite camp right now, Fight Ready. I mean, I would be all over him, but it looks like he just went home and is just training. So I don't really know what he's going to come back like. He's a wild card because I know what he looked like when he left, and it was bad. It was bad. He technically is supposed to be a wrestler, but he couldn't take down Safarov, even though Safarov was cheating. Everyone, a lot of analysts are talking about that as well, a lot of experts. But I mean, his wrestling was nothing to write home about. His striking, he has some power, but it's not good at all. And I know I talked about Kamer's record, his strength of schedule. Whoo, Nick. Oh my gosh, let me just read them all for you. It's 10 times easier. His first fight, the guy was 1-3. Second fight, the guy was 0-0. Third fight, 0-1. Fourth fight, 2-1. Fifth fight, 3-2. Sixth fight, 12-41. Then his next fight, 7-5. Fight after that, 2-15. And the fight to get into the UFC, he fought someone that was 10-13. So he has fought two people with winning records, three people with winning records, and their records were 2-1, 3-2, 7-5. And then those are all his wins. And then he lost to the worst guy in the UFC. So Nick, I had absolutely nothing good to say about him except for the fact that he has okay power. That's all I have. So at that juncture, I would stay the hell away from this fight because Kamer is coming in at -255. He's terrible. You can't bet that. Nick coming in at +200. He's terrible. You can't bet that. But there is a bet I like on here. So the pick is going to be Kamer, and the bet that I'm actually going to place is the over 2.5 at -155. Both these guys, as bad as they are durable. And if you have two people that are generally very, very bad, those fights do go to decision quite often. So I'm pretty locked into the over 2.5 here. It might be, in all honesty, scary to say one of my biggest locks of the card just because they're so bad. And in all honesty, they're both durable. The only good quality they have is durability. One has okay power, one has okay striking, and they're both durable. So at that juncture, I'm just going to bet their chins, and I probably will have a bet. I got to watch the weigh-ins, but I probably will have a bet on the over 2.5 there. All right, we're almost done with the card here. The next fight, we have Matt Brown going up against Diego Lima. Battle of the suspect chins. We have Matt Brown at +145, Diego Lima at -170. The over 2.5 is -135. Under 2.5 is +105. And I have no idea why. We'll start with Diego Lima. Things I like about Diego Lima, his jiu-jitsu is okay, I guess, on paper. He has good calf kicks. That's it. He's not good. He is not Douglas. The younger brothers are generally you look at Nick compared to Nate, and then you look at Douglas compared to Diego. Makes sense because he is not good. I know he originally had a whole bunch of knockouts on his record, but that was prior to coming into the UFC. I mean, in the UFC himself, starting from the Ultimate Fighter on, this dude got knocked out by Eddie Gordon. He got knocked out by Tim Means. He got knocked out by the Leech. He got knocked out by Jason Jackson. He got tapped out by Jesse Taylor. Like, he's getting finished a ton. His wins, Court McGee split decision, suspect because Court's old and not really the old Court that we know. Chad LaPreci, who? Luke Jumo, split decision. You can't be going to a split there. So no, Diego's not good. I like the guy personally. I really was rooting for him on the Ultimate Fighter. But in regards to placing my money on him, hell no. I like Diego. I wish him the best in all of his endeavors. But that is absolutely not in regards to betting him. So then you look the flip side. You're like, well, what about the Immortal? He is not immortal. First and foremost, this dude is 22 and 18. Most of his losses coming recently in his elder age because he was known as someone had a cast iron chin, unstoppable cardio, and he would just break you. The problem is this dude is 40 now. So with age, your cardio starts to drop and your chin gets a little suspect. So his two best qualities are now gone. So now he's just relying on his power. His last two wins are against Diego Sanchez and Ben Saunders, two guys with suspect chins like Diego Lima. But we're also his age. And then you look at that and you have losses. Oh gosh, he did take a long break here that I totally forgot about, man. 2016, 2017 and 2019. He's old, man. He needs to let it go. He still has the power though. That's the one thing that doesn't leave. So you even look at his last fight he almost won was against Miguel Bieza. I know we just watched him go to war with Santiago Ponzinibbio. He dropped Miguel badly, had him rocked. And like to the point where they were about to stop the fight, Miguel recovered, came back and knocked Matt Brown out. And it only took one. That's the problem with Matt Brown now. Carlos Condit lit him up on the feet. The thing with this fight, I don't want to trust either one of these guys. If I had to trust anyone, I guess it would be Lima, just because Matt Brown only has about a round and a half cardio. At least Lima still has cardio. So if I had to pick someone, it'd be Lima. But I might have a bet on this with it being the under. I don't know why 2.5 is plus money. So, I mean, I might even bet the under 1.5 if I can find it on a book. But the plus 105 on under 2.5, I would jump on it quickly because a lot of that thing is getting steamed down. And so while it's still plus money, hop on that because I don't see this fight going the distance. So the pick is Lima. A bet would be the under 2.5, and I might have it. It's not a bad bet. So it's a very tough card. I'm gonna have to end up betting that. Next fight of the night is another suspect betting fight here. We have Bruno Silva at minus 145 coming in against Wellington Turman. The over 2.5 is even money. Under 2.5 is minus 30. So they're expecting violence here. We'll start with Wellington. Not a lot to say. He has okay wrestling. It's not good. It's not bad. It's presentable. It's there. He has good jiu-jitsu. I'll give him that. And in all honesty, people will say he doesn't have good stand-up. He does. It's decent. When you really watch it, it's not that bad. But it's the same thing as Casey O'Neill. They can dish it out, but they're taking 3 or 4 just to get one off. So they look good doing it, but they are getting pieced up on the feet as they're landing theirs. The problem is Casey O'Neill, I guess, no, she got knocked out twice as an amateur, but Turman also gets knocked out. His chin is a little suspect. Everyone's going to go back to the Andrew Sanchez knockout. Now, that was only his only knockout loss of his career, so I don't want to harp as much on it as much as other people are. But Andrew Sanchez, that might be his only knockout. He is not a power puncher, so it was a little concerning, and he was out cold. Like, it wasn't just like it says ground and pound. He was out before he hit the mat. That's one of those where their head smacks on the ground and they wake up from the impact of the ground and then get put out again. It was one of those. That was bad. That was not a good look. God, I mean, his jiu-jitsu, the thing with him is he's the dog, and the line flipped, and he was originally the favorite. So generally I go wrestler versus over striker, and that's all Bruno Silva is. This is not the flyweight Bruno Silva. This is the middleweight Bruno Silva, who is not nearly as good. The thing with him though is I would he has 6 losses. But when you look at his record, they were all at the start of his career. He's on a pretty decent win streak here, in all honesty. When you look at his career, he was alternating wins and losses a lot to start. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, win, loss, loss. Then he goes on a streak. Win, 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 loss. Win, 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 loss. Win, win, win. Like he's on a pretty good tear here. You see him improving. His gas tank is questionable. I've seen it look good. I've seen it look bad in fights. So I don't really know where he stands. Generally, it looks bad, but he also has some knockouts in the 4th round and the 3rd round. So it's there. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu suspect. His wrestling shaky. And again, we went over his cardio. A lot of looping punches. Just a lot of power. Ton of power. Most of his wins, you'll see knockout, 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 punches, punches, KO. Some decisions, punches, punches, KO. Like, he's a knockout machine. And Turman has a questionable chin. Turman, most of his wins are by submission. Silva, a lot of his losses are by submission. So you're really going striker versus grappler here. In that instance, I will always lean the grappler unless I have reason not to. And Turman's only been knocked out once. So I will lean Wellington, and the bet is going to be dog or pass, in all honesty, because I don't know which way it's going. You could bet the under, in all honesty. Minus 130 is not the worst line. I know it's starting to get steamed. So if it's still at the 130, under 2.5, not a bad bet, because you're covering yourself with the knockout, you're covering yourself with a submission. So the under 2.5 is a decent bet there. Not a bad one at all. One you can definitely take. But if it starts getting really, really high up there in the minus 180s, almost minus 200s, then it's a little too rich for my blood. But if it's still sitting at minus 130 right now, that is a halfway decent bet. If you want to pick an actual person, I would go the dog or pass with Wellington. Then the next fight is probably going to be fight of the night, in all honesty. We have Sungwoon Choi going up against Julian Erosa, and he's the reason it's going to be fight of the night. We have Choi at minus 140, Erosa at plus 120. Over 2.5 is minus 135. Under 2.5 is plus 105, and I have no fucking clue why. Julian Juicy J Erosa is my boy. I love Julian Erosa because he does nothing but bring the heat. He does nothing but bring the excitement. You look at his last one against Nate Landwehr, you look at a 56-second knockout, there were like 3 knockdowns, there were knockouts, there was a whole bunch of stuff. There are comebacks all in a minute's time because Julian Erosa gets in your face. He doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care what your style is. He knows what his is, and that is pressure, pressure, pressure. He doesn't have a ton of technique. Submissions are okay, but he has no wrestling. He's just going to get in your face and throw and make you scrap. You can't decide if you want to be technical with Julian Erosa. He doesn't give you the option because he's in your face and he's swinging, so you have to swing back. You saw the pressure break Landwehr. You saw the pressure break Woodson. He's good, man. I shouldn't say he's good. He is exciting. Even his losses, he gets knocked out. He has a very, very questionable chin. He gets knocked out quite often. The dude has 8 losses and let's see, knockout, 2 knockout, 3 knockout, 4 knockout. Oof. Half of his losses are by knockout, so it is not hard to put him away. But at the same time, you look at his wins: submission, thirst choke, flying knee, punches, decision, KO. Like, he's taking you out as well. He's just a fun guy to watch, and this is going to be fireworks because Choi is the same way. Choi is a big, strong dude at this weight class. I don't understand. I don't understand how he makes the weight, in all honesty. He does not seem like he should be able to weigh 145 pounds, but he makes it somehow. You look at his last win, is against Yusuf Zalal. He looked pretty good there. I was all over him as the dog there. I love Yusuf Zalal. I think he is better than his record shows. However, it was just styles make fights, and Choi is pretty tough to take down. I know Gavin Tucker was able to do so, but he's a great wrestler. I know that Mazwar Evloev was able to do so, but we saw what he can do last week against Mean Hakeem Douad. That dude is legit. His 2 UFC losses are against people that are, in the top 15. Evloev, top 10. Gavin Tucker, top 15. So he's only losing to good people. And he has some power, man. Like I said, he's big. He's mainly predominantly a striker. And he likes to pressure. So if he likes to pressure you and Arosa is coming straight forward, it's not going to last long. And I have absolutely no idea why the totals are lined the way they are. Troy has good cardio, really good cardio. Arosa has really good cardio. And Troy, when you look at his losses, he has been knocked out more than once, or maybe just the one time. Sorry, he's been knocked out before, but I've seen him dropped multiple times. So he has a little bit of a questionable chin. Arosa has a very questionable chin. You have two guys that like the pressure and two guys that like to strike. Fireworks. Don't expect it to last long. Don't blink. So at that juncture, I'll pick Troy in all honesty, just because he throws a lot more straight punches. Arosa throws a lot of looping punches. I'll always go with technique over wildness. I like Arosa more, but you got to put your bias aside with betting. So I'll pick Choi. The bet is under, man. Why on earth is the under 2.5 plus money? It will not be long. Hop on it now. The under 2.5 official bet. Book it. Then the next fight, if that one only lasts 1 minute, maybe it doesn't get fight of the night. If that's the case, this one will. We have Marlon Chito Vera going up against Davey Grant. Marlon Chito Vera is coming in at a minus 215 favorite. Davey Grant at plus 165. Over 2.5 is minus 125. Under 2.5 minus 105. Don't touch the over under. It's not worth it. Because of the way the style is. Marlon Vera, he's good. He's a popular name. He's a household name at this point. And we all know about the Sean O'Malley win where Sean just rolled over his ankle and was just soft. We know about Jose Aldo backpacking him in the third round in order to get that win. But he was coming on, man. Aldo tore him up. We know Marlon Vera is the world's slowest starter. Him and Nate Diaz need to fight a catchweight fight just to see who the official slowest starter in the UFC is. So you can just, no matter who he's fighting, give the other opponent the first round. But that second and third round, Chito puts it on you, man. And he's good on the ground. He's great on the ground. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, solid. His wrestling, though, his only weak spot, honestly, is his wrestling. I mean, I don't see it often. It doesn't look the greatest. But we know his striking's good. He has a lot of knockouts, but it's not a lot of like one-hitter quitters. He just wears on you. Again, he has a lot of great cardio. The best quality definitely is chin. You can't knock this guy out. At this point, I think it's impossible. He eats shots and keeps walking through it. He's good all around, man. He is a top 10 guy. This is a good weight class. If he's not top 10, he's like number 11. He's very, very good. But the thing is, Davey Grant also is good, and the line is disrespecting him. I would definitely, I saw it. I was really ready to bet Vera until I saw the line, man. Davey Grant should not be at plus 165, and it's growing. Money's coming in on Vera. By the time this fight kicks off, Davey Grant might be like plus 180. I do already have a bet on Davey Grant, just what I got, the odds at plus 165. And let me tell you the biggest reason why. Styles make fights. Davey Grant, great on the feet, good enough cardio. It's not the greatest. He'll slow like a touch, but again, he's not going to win that third round anyway. Chito is definitely coming in after him. Davey Grant, he has a very, very suspect ground game. He seems fine on the ground when he's on top, but on bottom, you see he got armbarred, triangled, rear naked choke. Most of his losses, 3 out of his 4 losses are by submission. But the thing is, he's not the greatest wrestler. It's there, but he's not going to want to take Chito down. He's going to want to stand with Chito because I do think he has a striking edge, just the smallest of edge, but he does. And you mean right now he's on a tear with knockouts. The Popov fight was a little questionable. He resorted on his wrestling for the win. That was weird. But the Martin Day knockout, even though Martin Day was kind of winning in all honesty, he did come back and knock him out. Jonathan Martinez, a knockout. He got dropped and then knocked him out. Styles make fights. Just the way they strike, it definitely caters to Grant. And the biggest deciding factor you can see is right here. Back in 2016, Marlon Vera versus Davy Grant. Davy Grant already beat Marlon Vera. 5 years ago, yes. Has Marlon Vera gotten a lot better? Yes. Should he be minus 215 over someone that already knows the formula to beat him? Fuck no. So I don't understand why the line is the way it is. You have to take advantage of it. The pick, in all honesty, is Vera. I think Vera's gotten good enough to where he can beat Davy Grant. At least if it's by decision, but whether he gets it to the ground and submits him, however you want to do it. The pick is, in all honesty, Vera. Vera's the better fighter. But styles make fights, and I've seen this fight already. So if you're telling me someone with the style to beat Vera, who's already beaten Vera, is plus 170, give me that guy. The pick is Vera. The bet is Davy Grant. I already have money on him. If I lose, hey, it's a dog shot, but I am not laying minus 215 on someone that's already lost to the guy he's fighting. Doesn't make any sense. So definitely bet Grant if you're betting that fight. Then, sorry about that. The next fight, we had the co-main event. We have Alessio Oleinik going up against Sergey Spivak. Alessio Oleinik, plus 185 dog. Spivak, minus 245 favorite. Over 1.5 is plus 125. Under 1.5, minus 155. We'll start with old man Oleinik, the boa constrictor. And yes, that record is not fabricated. He is 59, 15, and 1. This dude literally has over 75 professional fights. And you know what? He has a shit ton of submissions. That is his bread and butter. You look at arm bars. I can't even go through a schedule again. There's 75 of them. I'm not going through his whole resume, but you can see the amount of finishes here. This dude is a middleweight, mind you. He's old as could be. He is 43 years old. His birthday is the same as mine, actually, June 25th. He is going to be, oh God, he's going to be 44 next week. So this is a 44-year-old middleweight who moonlights at heavyweight because he can't cut weight any longer because of his age. But he is a ground guy. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, one of the best in the division. And it doesn't matter to him at that point, because if it touches the ground, heavyweights are synonymous with not being great on the ground. So he's just taking advantage of it, and he's having a grand old time on the ground against these heavyweights. And his striking's there, but it's not good. I know he won a stand-up affair against Verdum, but even that, it was a split, and I had money on Verdum, so I was biased. I thought he won, but I have no complaints over Oleinik getting the nod there. I totally see it. I think it's really just my bias giving it to Fabricio. Outside of that, his cardio, he is about 6 to 7 minutes in him. He has about a minute in the round one. So he's about 6 minutes of cardio in him. After that, he just withers away. He has nothing to offer, in all honesty. So if you're betting Oleinik, you're betting a first round submission, and that is about it. That's the only way he's going to win. He has some decent power to an extent. It looks hard when he throws, but I mean, he's not knocking out a ton of people. I mean, his last knockout was, I don't even know. I have no idea. Jared Rosal in 2014. So yeah, he last knocked someone out 7 years ago. Can't bet that. So you're betting first round submission, or you're betting Spivak. Now Spivak minus 245, I can't do. I think he's getting better. He's young. He's only like 26 or 27. You see, he's one of these guys where you see the improvement each and every week. Problem being, he's a ground guy. He loves wrestling. He loves taking it down to the ground and ground and pounding you until you submit, until you can't take anymore. He did it to Jared Vandera. He tried to do it to Carlos Felipe, but that dude is durable. But he did take him down and beat the crap out of him. Tied to Ivasa, he took him down multiple times. It's really what he does. He takes you down and he finishes you. The thing with this is that's the only way Oleinik can win, and he has a lot of wins off his back. I know we're all ready for the Ezekiel choke. Sir Spivak has been studying it, but Spivak, I mean, his cardio is good. He can break him on the ground, but I don't think he's going to want to do that right away. I think Oleinik being a little slower, and Spivak being so much bigger. Oleinik surprisingly does have a winner's reach advantage somehow, but Spivak doesn't have a ton to offer on the feet. He's more of a Muay Thai guy. He just throws jabs and knees. That's all he throws. If I'm him, I'm staying on the feet for the first round, wearing them down, make Olynyk tired before you go to the ground and want to utilize your wrestling. I think that would be the game plan. If you think you could beat someone on the feet or you think you can wear someone out, why immediately go down to the ground when you're both dry and could get locked up and stuff? So if he's going to take his time, that leans the over. And I'm looking at it here, and over 1.5 is plus 125. Remember, we said Olynyk only has 6 minutes of cardio in him. He needs to last 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And if Spivak's going to take it slow, I think he can take it slowly enough to where he can last the extra minute and a half. So I am pretty locked into the over 1.5 here, especially at plus money. Plus 125. It is honestly one of my favorite bets on the card. I accidentally threw it into 2 different parlays and bet it on its own. So I am into this heavy for whatever reason. I am all about the over 1.5. Might be my favorite play on the card. So follow me, trail me. We're on a heater right now. Look it. What do we have to lose? I definitely picked Spivak as the pick. And then the bet is unequivocally the over. And that is going to take us to the main event. We are looking at Dan 50K Ige and the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. Sorry, allergies are crushing me. The over is 4.5, minus 125, under 4.5, minus 105. It's a tricky fight, man. Start with Dan Ige. It's weird because you look at him and he's been doing a lot of stand-up lately. You think about his fight with Calvin Kattar, that was a war, was predominantly on the feet. You look at his last win was a right cross. He knocked out Gavin Tucker in 20 seconds. And Gavin Tucker, I think that's the first time he's ever been finished. That dude is tough as nails. You look at his stand-up war against Edson Barboza. I know some people thought Barboza won, but again, what are you going to do? He's doing a lot of stand-up, and he's good on the feet. He's another one of these guys where he's just a dual threat, man. If you take him to the ground, he's a real black belt, so it's dangerous territory, so then you end up standing with him. And he has quick, fast hands, decent power. He's good everywhere. His wrestling is, I don't really see it often. I really don't have anything to report back on the wrestling. It's not good, not bad. It's just, I really don't know. Because his striking is so good. He's fallen in love with his striking, and it's fine because he's good at it. He's durable. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. I know he hasn't been submitted. No, he's never been finished. So this dude's tough as nails. He's a little small. The only thing, like, I think he might be able to make 135 in all honesty. But he looks fine at 145. It's not like he's too small. He's good. He's just an overall good guy. This isn't a number one contenders fight, but this is, pretty close to it. These dudes are both in the top 10 of the division. Both great fighters. I respect both of them a lot. Then you look, the only knock I have on Ige is his schedule. Let me go back to him real quickly. His strength of schedule, he fought Kattar, who's really good, but he lost. He fought Edson Barboza, who's pretty good, and it was a split decision, just squeaked it out. His wins, I mean, he knocked out Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker's fine, but he's like a top 15, top 20 guy, not a top 5, top 10 guy. Bekchik, he won a split. Again, top 15, top 20 guy. Kevin Aguilar is about to get cut. Danny Henry, I think, already got cut. Jordan Griffin definitely already got cut. Like, he's beating all of these, like, fringe top 20 guys, and he's doing so decisively for most outside of these other two. And then you get him in the step, he takes a step up in competition and he loses. So, I mean, it's not really a fault on him. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's losing the top guys. So you look at the flip side, and you can't say the same about the Korean Zombie. You look at him, he has decent, pretty good power. I wouldn't say it's like the death touch, but it's pretty good. He has good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't say he's like a whiz on the ground, but he's very good. It's some pretty, I think he has a twister win and things like that. He's really good on the ground. He's super durable. I know he shows a knockout against Yair Rodriguez. 4 minutes and 59 seconds. This dude won about 4 minutes and 58 seconds of that fight. He just got caught with the craziest back elbow, the biggest come from behind victory you'll ever see outside of the Silva Sonnen ordeal. I think that might be even bigger. You have the Jose Aldo loss. His shoulder popped out. He was losing anyway, but like, his shoulder popped out. It's not like he just got punched out like it shows on here. George Roop head kicked him to hell. I think that was just fluky. That was kind of weird. And outside of that, he hasn't been finished. Just that head kick that came out of fucking nowhere, his shoulder popping out, and a crazy back elbow. So it takes a big anomaly for this dude to get finished. His cardio's fine. He slows a little in these 5-round fights, but that's the thing. He's been in 5-round fights because he's fighting good competition. He fought for the title. He fought former champions at Frank Yeager. He fought potential superstars in Renato Moicano and finished them. Dennis Bermudez. He beat Dustin Poirier. Like, that is a good win. Like, DP is probably the best lightweight in the world right now. I mean, it was at featherweight. It was at 2012. But, I mean, it's just showing you the level of people that he's fighting. So, I mean, the experience edge definitely goes to Zombie. He's older. He's 34. So if he's going to do the damn thing, he's got to do it ASAP. Because once you hit about 35, 36, you start to I start to question you. So this is his last run. And I understand why it's aligned the way it is. Minus 115 Ige, minus 115 Jung. The line has flipped to where I saw, instead of 50-50 earlier today, I did see Ige at minus 120, Jung at minus 105. If that thing goes all the way to Jung being a dog, I will have money on Korean Zombie. Just because I think it should be a pick 'em. I don't think anyone should be an underdog. No one should have plus money. And as I'm sitting here 50-50 saying who is going to be the pick, who is going to be the bet, I'll tell you right now, the bet is probably just going to be the over, just because they're both durable as hell. I don't like it. It's not my favorite. Minus 105 isn't the greatest value. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just there. I don't want to bet it, but I'm not like totally against it. So if you're going to bet, you can either take the over 4.5, sorry, minus 125. You can either take the over 4.5, because both are durable, or the deciding factor in regards to the fight pick. If Jung ends up a dog, if he is even money, I am pulling the trigger. And there's one reason. There was a point in time where if you fought for Sanford, I was going to bet you. His last fight, he got his ass whooped on the feet by Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is a jiu-jitsu guy. That's the reason the line is flipping towards Ige. Let me tell you something. He was not ready to fight a stand-up Brian Ortega. I don't think he trained that. He simply was not ready. This fight against Dan Ige, he will be ready because he's training at fight ready. And fight ready has Bruno Silva on a tear. It has Eric Anders on a tear. It has Leon Edwards on a tear. I legitimately have never lost a fight betting someone from fight ready since this new emergence. And in this year's time, I have never lost a fight betting someone that fights at fight ready. So at this point, Kamala Kirk was a dog. He was like a plus 200 dog. He hit. Fight ready does not lose fights. And this streak is a long streak. It has been months. So at this point, if I'm back against the wall and I have to choose someone in a 50-50 fight and they give me plus money on Korean Zombie who went to fight ready, that's the biggest deciding factor I have. So pick Korean Zombie, the bet, either the over or Korean Zombie if it ends up being if he ends up being a dog. But otherwise, I'd probably just, as much as it sucks, I'd probably pass on the main event. Otherwise, that's the fight card, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good one. I'm sorry, it's not a good one, but you can find some ways to win. And if we start hitting early, that's when you can start taking some of these wild shots. And at that point, you just kind of do what you can in order to get any sort of money. We're on a tear right now, so let's ride the hot hand and hopefully everything works out for us. Otherwise, it's been a joy. Let's get some money, baby.